Good evening. We come to you tonight with heavy hearts, bearing news of a tragedy that has, shaken our nation to its very core. This afternoon, on June 12, 2025, the skies over Ahmedabad witnessed a catastrophe of unimaginable proportions. Air India Flight 171, a Boeing 787 Dreamliner bound for London, met a horrifying end just moments after its departure from Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel International Airport. The aircraft, carrying 242 souls, crashed, turning what should have been a routine journey into a national disaster. The images are stark, the reality is grim, and the city is now draped in a thick blanket of sorrow and disbelief. The scale of this disaster is simply staggering. Official reports, which are still being updated, confirm that at least 204 bodies have been recovered from the wreckage. A further 41 individuals have been rushed to hospitals, their conditions varying, their futures uncertain. These numbers are not mere statistics. They represent families torn apart, dreams extinguished in an instant, and a void that can never be filled. The flight, AI-171, had barely climbed to an altitude of 625 feet before it plummeted back to Earth, leaving behind a trail of destruction and unanswered questions that, honestly, will haunt us for years to come. The crash site itself tells a story of dual tragedies. The aircraft didn't fall in an empty field, but into a densely populated area, striking the doctor's hostel and dining facility of the prestigious BJ Medical College. It was lunchtime, a time of camaraderie and rest for the young medical students, when their world was violently interrupted. Reports confirm that at least 5 students on the ground lost their lives, innocent bystanders caught in a disaster they could not have foreseen. The campus, usually a symbol of healing and hope, has now become a ground zero for loss and mourning, compounding the tragedy. As the sun sets on this dark day, a sense of profound shock reverberates across India and the world. Prime Minister Narendra Modi swiftly expressed his anguish, calling the incident heartbreaking. From the United Kingdom, Prime Minister Keir Starmer spoke of the devastating images reaching his office, while King Charles III conveyed his deep shock and condolences. This is not just an Indian tragedy, it is a global one. The world watches, shares our grief, and waits with bated breath as rescue teams continue their grim and tireless work amidst the smoldering ruins. Behind every disaster statistic is a human story, a life lived, and a future stolen. On board Air India Flight 171 were 242 individuals, 217 adults, 11 children, and 2 infants, each with their own journey, their own destination. The passenger manifest reveals a mosaic of nationalities, a testament to our interconnected world. The majority, 169 passengers, were Indian nationals. They were joined by 53 British citizens, many likely returning home or visiting family. Also on board were 7 Portuguese nationals and 1 Canadian citizen, turning this into a truly international incident where grief knows no borders or language. The tragedy has also touched the upper echelons of Indian public life, adding another layer of shock to the unfolding events. Confirmed on the passenger list was Shri Vijay Rupani, the former Chief Minister of Gujarat, who served the state from 2016 to 2021. His presence on this ill-fated flight has sent shockwaves through the political landscape. He was not just a politician, but a familiar face to millions in the state, a leader who once steered its course. The loss of such a prominent figure alongside hundreds of other citizens underscores the indiscriminate nature of this tragedy, reminding us that it has claimed people from all walks of life. The task of identifying the victims is now a monumental and heart-wrenching challenge for the authorities. Given the devastating impact and the subsequent fire, visual identification is impossible for many. In response, a painful but necessary process has been initiated. Officials have made a public appeal, asking relatives of the passengers to come forward and provide DNA samples. These samples will be painstakingly matched with the remains recovered from the site. It is a slow, methodical, and emotionally draining process, but it is the only way to provide families with the certainty they deserve, the final closure in a chapter of unbearable pain. As families gather near the airport and at designated centers, their faces etched with anxiety and grief, the true human cost of this disaster becomes painfully clear. We see husbands waiting for news of their wives, parents clinging to the hope of finding their children, and friends praying for a miracle. These are the faces of the tragedy, the people who must now navigate a world irrevocably altered. Their loss is personal, profound, and deeply felt. The entire nation must now stand with them, offering not just sympathy, but a shoulder to lean on as they begin their long and difficult journey of mourning. The immediate aftermath of the crash was a scene of chaos and courage. The aircraft, a massive Boeing 787-8 Dreamliner, came down near the Asarwa area, its fuselage tearing through the BJ Medical College hostel building. The impact, which occurred at approximately 1:38 p.m., sent a plume of thick black smoke into the Ahmedabad sky, visible for miles. The sound, described by eyewitnesses as a deafening explosion, shattered the afternoon calm. Within minutes, the area was swarmed by first responders, with over 70 fire trucks and dozens of ambulances racing against time to battle the inferno and search for survivors. The emergency response has been a massive, coordinated effort involving the National Disaster Response Force, local police, and fire services. Rescue workers, clad in protective gear, have been meticulously combing through the debris, a dangerous and emotionally taxing job. They have managed to clear nearly 80% of the crash area, a testament to their relentless dedication. All flights at Ahmedabad Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel International Airport were immediately suspended, but limited operations have since resumed on a separate runway, allowing a semblance of normalcy to return even as the shadow of the disaster looms large over the city. This crash marks the first fatal incident for the Boeing 787 Dreamliner, an aircraft once hailed as a revolutionary step in aviation technology. In service since 2011, the Dreamliner has been a workhorse for long-haul carriers like Air India. However, its manufacturer, Boeing, has been navigating a period of intense turbulence. The company is still grappling with the reputational damage from the two fatal 737 MAX crashes in 2018 and 2019, and more recently, a January 2024 incident where a door panel blew off a 737 MAX 9 mid-flight. This accident will inevitably place the 787 and Boeing's manufacturing processes under a renewed and intense global microscope. Investigators from India's Directorate General of Civil Aviation are now at the site, beginning the long and arduous process of finding out what went wrong. They will be joined by teams from the United States National Transportation Safety Board and the Federal Aviation Administration, as is standard procedure. Experts from Boeing and GE Aerospace, the engine manufacturer, are also en route to provide technical assistance. The flight's data recorders, the so-called black boxes, will be crucial. Early reports indicate the crew issued a mayday call shortly after takeoff, a desperate signal that something had gone terribly wrong. Finding answers will take months, if not years. As the initial shock begins to subside, it is being replaced by a wave of grief, anger, and an urgent demand for accountability. A nation in mourning is now asking one simple yet profoundly complex question: why? Why did a state-of-the-art aircraft operated by our national carrier fall from the sky? The Tata Group, which took ownership of Air India in 2022 and merged it with Vistara, has pledged its full support to the families of the victims. But beyond condolences and compensation, the public is demanding transparency. They want to know if this was a mechanical failure, a human error, or a systemic issue that could have been prevented. The ripple effects of this tragedy were felt almost immediately in financial markets across the globe. In pre-market trading in New York, Boeing's shares tumbled by as much as 8%, a clear sign of investor anxiety over the company's future and the safety of its fleet. Back home, shares of Tata-owned companies and rival airline Indigo also saw a significant drop of around 3%. This is more than just a market reaction. It is a vote of no confidence that reflects a deep-seated fear. The aviation industry, built on the promise of safety, has been shaken, and restoring that trust will be a monumental task for all stakeholders involved. The investigation into Air India 171 will be one of the most scrutinized in recent memory. Whistleblower claims from 2024 regarding manufacturing shortcuts on the 787's fuselage will undoubtedly be revisited. Every maintenance log, every communication from the cockpit, and every piece of wreckage will be analyzed. Was there a pre-existing issue with this specific aircraft, registration VTA&B, which was delivered in 2014? Or was this a new, unforeseen failure? The families of the 247 people who perished, 242 on the plane and 5 on the ground, deserve nothing less than the complete, unvarnished truth. Tonight, as rescue efforts continue under the glare of floodlights in Ahmedabad, India is united in its sorrow. We pray for the departed souls and for the strength of the families they left behind. We salute the bravery of the first responders who are working tirelessly at the site of this horrific tragedy. But amidst the tears and prayers, our resolve must be firm. We must pursue the cause of this crash with relentless determination to ensure that such a catastrophe never happens again. The victims of Flight AI 171 deserve justice, and the flying public deserves answers. The search for both has only just begun. Good night.